So I think all of that information you just got in that first video is a little overwhelming. You need to really see it in the context of the problems. So let's go ahead and try some problems. All right. So we've got this problem right here. If we want to find, we're trying to find what values of x would make this statement true. So our goal really is to isolate x. So almost instinctually, I think you guys really can look at that and say, I want to get x cubed by itself, so I got to divide by 6. Go with your gut. All right, so 6's cancel out. We got x cubed equals negative 216. So now that we've got negative 216, we want to take the cube root of both sides. Now, this is where I need to ask myself a question about what we talked about before. If I'm taking the cube root of a negative number, am I going to have any problems? Am I going to have imaginary solutions, or is that all right? If I was taking the fourth root, I would have a problem. I'd get an imaginary number. But the third root is allowed. So here I'm going to end up with x equals, because this is an odd index, I'm going to have one real solution, and the answer is going to be negative 6, right? Let's check. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 6, 12. 6 times 3, 19. Oh! Oh, 36. What am I thinking? Okay. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 3 is 18, 19, 20, 21. Perfect. 216. Okay. So the cube root of negative 216 is negative 6. We had one solution, and that's our answer. All right, so we just need to be cautious of the fact that if there's a fourth root or an even power, we might have two solutions, one solution, or zero solutions. So in this case, you're not allowed to touch that negative 4. You can't add 4 to both sides until you get rid of this parenthesis. So right now, this whole thing is being raised to the 4th power. So we need to take the 4th root to get rid of that 4th power. I've told students in the past, this is like it's locked in a box, and the key to that box is this 4th power. So to unlock that box, you need the 4th root. Now once I've taken the 4th root of this, what's inside that box drops down. Now this is the case where, okay, now that I'm taking an even root, and it's a positive radicand, the number inside is positive, there are going to be two possible answers, plus or minus. Now 81, the 4th root of 81, I can rewrite 81 as 9 times 9, but that would be 9 squared, and I don't need a square root, I need a 4th root, so I need something to the 4th power. 9 is 3 times 3, and 9 also is 3 times 3, so I can rewrite it as 3 to the 4th power. So the 4th root of 81 is 3, because the 4th root of 3 to the 4th would be 3. But plus or minus 3, right? There are two real solutions. We're almost done. We have one last step. We're going to add 4 to both sides. Now, this is where students have trouble, so please be very, very careful. You want to leave plus or minus 3 as it is, and add 4 to that, right? It's negative 4, we're going to add 4 to both sides. You need to write out these two solutions. There are two solutions here. X equals positive 3 plus 4. And the other solution is x equals negative 3 plus 4. When I add these up, I get x equals 1 or x equals 7. What students will tend to do is they want to add 4 and 3 and make it plus or minus 7. But you can see that's not the case. You only get positive 7, not negative 7. So be very careful. It's a positive 3 plus 4 and a negative 3 plus 4. Those are your two solutions. All right, let's try this one. We want to get x to the fourth by itself. We're going to divide both sides by -12. That cancels, and we are left with x to the fourth equals 4. Again, I see an even power, so I want to be careful. I'm going to take the fourth root, and I get x equals, because it's a positive number and this is an even power, I'm going to have two solutions, plus or minus the fourth root of 4. Now I could type that into my calculator, fourth root of 4, and approximate it. I believe it gives me 1 point, let's see. It gives me plus or minus 1.41. Now, how could I find that on my calculator? How do you do the fourth root of 4? Well, last lesson we looked at changing this radical notation into a rational exponent. So this index becomes, this is my root, it becomes the root. So 4, and what's my power here? It's just the 1. So 4 to the 1/4 power. In your calculator, you could do 4 to the 1/4 power and find it's approximately 1.41. Alright, but remember, there are two solutions. How did I know there were two solutions? How did I know it was plus or minus? Because it was an even power and a positive number in my radicand. Alright, last one. First step, I want to get my x cubed all by itself, so I'm going to add 14 to both sides. 36 equals x cubed. Now this is an odd power, so I don't need to be too concerned. I'm just going to have one real solution. I'm going to cube root both sides. And x equals the cube root of 36. I could rewrite that. 36 to the 1/3. Right? So I have my index, or my root becomes my root, and my power becomes my power. Now, 36 could actually be written another way. I could rewrite 36 as 6 squared to the 1/3 power as well. Now, in my calculator, I could plug in 36 to the 1/3 power. I could also, and you want that in parentheses, you could also write 6 squared to the 1/3, which would be 6 to the 2/3 power. And you will get the same exact answer, and that's what we're going to work on tomorrow. Alright, so our final answer, we just get x equals 3.3.